And our question for the day is, how do I pay myself if I am just starting out? So this is an interesting and kind of a tricky question because it's going to depend on a couple of things. Most therapists, not most, but a lot of therapists follow the profit first model. It's a very simple way to look at how to pay yourself. In the beginning, you might not be able to use this model because if you don't have a full-time income yet, a lot of your expenses are going to go towards, a lot of your revenue is going to go towards your expenses. So if you think about when you are full-time, this is a good number for you, even if you're part-time and you're not growing. So you know what your revenue is going to be every single month. You would pay yourself 50% of whatever you bring in. So if you bring in $10,000, you pay yourself $5,000. 30% is going towards expenses, 15% towards taxes, and 5% towards profit. So that's a really, really solid way to look at it. By putting aside 30% for expenses, you have enough for whatever expenses that you have and whatever expenses you might anticipate throughout the year. There are some expenses that are fixed. They're the same every month. Your rent, your electronic health record, maybe your phone, some of these other things. You're also going to need to put money aside for some of those larger expenses that only come once a year. I'm thinking liability insurance, accountant. And so you want to make sure that you have money aside for that. So you don't say, okay, my expenses are only, 15%. I'm only going to, I'm going to pay myself then, 65%. I'm doing the numbers really quick off the top of my head. You want to make sure that no, you actually are putting some money aside for unexpected expenses during the year. Things like trainings, things like maybe there's a piece of equipment or some kind of assessments that you need that are coming up every so often. So you want to make sure you do have money for those things. So you want to know how much your fixed expenses are every single month and your variable expenses, and make sure that you're within that 30% range. If your expenses are more than 30%, you're not going to be able to pay yourself 50% of what you bring in. If your expenses are less, you might be able to pay yourself a little bit more. 15% for taxes is really going to depend on a couple of situations. What your own particular, situation is, if you have a partner, if you file together, if you file separately, what state you live in, a lot of different variables, but 15% is of how much revenue you bring in. It's not 15% of what you pay yourself, which is typically how you would look at taxes. So you always want to talk to an accountant about planning for your specific situation for taxes. I can't give you tax advice. I can just tell you that 15% is a good number to start. It might have to go more, and it might have to go less. And again, you can play with these numbers. Then you want to look at 5% for profit, and you want to put that aside. And at the end of the year, you can take half of whatever you have left over for profit and pay yourself out money. Maybe put that towards a debt, a vacation, something exciting for yourself. So that's a general way. I want to talk a little bit more about paying yourself, but first I want to thank our sponsor, TherapyNotes. If you're looking for an electronic health record that's really full service, that can help you keep track of your revenue, that can help you really increase your revenue by making sure you get paid by insurances, that you can check your balances from clients, you can take credit card payments directly from their portal. They have a free telehealth option, so it makes it easy to book clients. There is a portal where you can send paperwork, so it's easy to follow up. So I highly recommend TherapyNotes for your electronic health record to increase your revenue. So going back, 50% is a good number. You may decide to pay yourself more. You might decide to pay yourself less. Maybe your expenses are really low. You're virtual only. You have very, very, very little expenses. That's great. If you are thinking about being virtual only for now, but saving up for an office, you might pay yourself a little bit less so you can reach that goal. If you have goals in your private practice that are going to take money, then you might not always give yourself as much money as you could because you're going to want to have money saved for your private practice. I always paid myself when I was operating solo or just had a very small group practice. I always paid myself 50%. And then I used any extra money that I had if I didn't need more money for whatever reason to build the practice. So that was a part of my goal. So like I said, 50% is a really solid number. Your specific circumstances might be different, but I hope that this was helpful. I'll see you soon, everybody. Bye.